Start your day with Quaker Protein Instant Oatmeal. The instant oatmeal ready to help you tackle whatever your day brings. Like wrangling your toddler into their car seat. That was fun. Coaching your 6th graders soccer team. Go girls! And carrying all the groceries in one trip. Whew. Try Quaker Protein Instant Oatmeal, granola, and bars. Great taste and a good source of protein. Quaker, bring out the good.
LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot stop your new clients from emailing you at 3 a.m. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you be in 3 places at once. And while we can't help you organize your calendar, LinkedIn can help you land more clients so you have a calendar to organize. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
Half Man, the new HBO original limited series from Baby Reindeer creator Richard Gadd, examines the tumultuous relationship between 2 estranged brothers, tracking the highs and lows of the pair over the course of 40 years. Starring Emmy Award winner Richard Gadd and BAFTA Award winner Jamie Bell. Half Man premieres April 23rd on HBO Max.
Hello and welcome to episode 272 of the Washed Up Emo podcast. I am Tom Mullen from washedupemo.com. Today on the podcast, we welcome Jon Cattivera from Time Spent Driving. 25th anniversary reissue is out right now for Just Enough Bright. This band was not talked about. They were right in the middle of it in Northern California, and I believe if you haven't heard of them, you need to check them out and listen to this episode. They were in the mix. They were around when you were searching, and if you're new to this genre, this is a great band to dive into. So, we talk a lot. We talk a lot about the reissue. We talk about what Jon's really pushing out recently with music. He's got more than enough energy for all of us, and so it's exciting to see that as well. And also, we get into Wendy's. Wendy's is a big thing. So, hope you enjoy. This is a great episode with Jon, and hope you check out the reissue on 30-something Records. Just Enough Bright, 25th anniversary. All right, this is episode 272 with Jon Cattivera from Time Spent Driving.
I'm in Santa Cruz, California. My name's Jon Cattivera.
Jon, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I was so surprised. I'm not surprised, but I was excited to see the email come through about this remastered, remixed record.
Nice.
How long did this take? 2 decades?
Oh, man. It took a couple of years. I mean, I move a lot faster than most people around me, apparently. So, it takes a couple of years, really, to make something happen, And in the meantime, I've been doing a ton of stuff. So you just kind of got to pace yourself and see when it makes sense to do things.
Let's do a brief overview for people, because I'm assuming that everybody knows Time Spent Driving. They should. If you don't, you'll learn about them. But I think this is the sweet spot of the podcast, of kind of the show, and I think the forgotten era of a lot of these bands. And so, did you guys meet in high school? Did you guys meet in college?
Yeah, so Derek, that plays in the band to this day, he's our other guitar player. Him and I actually have been going to school together since we were in 5th grade, when I moved to the Santa Cruz area here in the Santa Cruz Mountains. So I've kind of known him since then. And then what happened is, in junior high, I kind of connected with him a little bit because his brother, Luke from Good Riddance, was in the punk scene and they were doing stuff. This is back before they got signed to Fat Records and all those things. So we kind of connected on that level because I was like, really into punk rock and skateboarding and all the, the bands that were on that. And so, we kind of connected from afar a little bit. And then we knew some friends in junior high that were playing music and in bands and stuff. So, in junior high, there's not that many of those guys usually. No. I don't know about these days, but it's like you see these guys, you're like, geez, how did they learn how to do this? So I kind of had some friends there. And then in high school, basically those guys that were playing music, kind of their band broke up. And I had a guitar, and I was in a PE class actually doing like badminton. We mainly did badminton that year, and Derek was my partner. And so he was kind of friends with those guys, I guess. And they were kind of they weren't the cool kids at school, let's put it that way, right? So, we were hanging out in PE one time, like, I don't know, by the locker rooms, and they're like, yeah, no, our band broke up, and, we're looking to start a new band. I'm like, I'll sing, right? And I had a guitar, but I didn't know how to play it. My dad had just got me one randomly. And so, from there, basically, we kind of started a band. It was called Illiterate. And, basically, once I got in the band, I was like, okay, these guys can play, but they don't really write songs. You know what I mean? So, next thing I know, I was playing, learning how to play guitar and writing songs so I could sing something over it that made sense to me.
Why didn't you name the band Shuttlecock?
Oh man, because that would have been too great.
I was like, you're setting this up. You're setting this up.
I know.
The first band name is going to be called Shuttlecock because you did badminton. Next time.
I wish we could have gotten there that early. I mean, it had to compete with Sweatpants Boner though, and those were two hard calls. And and of course those names have been taken.
Those days have been taken. So, you're right.
I mean, think of how different things would have been if we would have chosen the right name early on. No, we like this illiterate thing. You just think, and it's like a kind of a pop punk kind of whatever, melodic punk type band.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, we could spell it wrong every time we have a different shirt or a show. So that was like our thing that made it seem like, okay, this is a good idea, But it kind of fit in with the, pop punk bands. They kind of, had dorky names back then and stuff.
That's perfect.
So it made sense. So yeah, that's how I kind of got into the whole thing. And I was already really into music, from, I don't know, 6th grade on, you start with Metallica and those kind of things. Then you move on, to the punk stuff and Bad Religion and Big Drill Car and all those kind of bands that were going on back then. But of course, there was the whole, early 90s grunge thing, with Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Faith No More and all of those things. I was really into Dinosaur Jr. and stuff like that early on, Smashing Pumpkins and things like that. And then, but the punk thing was really, really going right then, right? And I love this stuff. So that's kind of what we do. And then again, his older brother was in Good Riddance, and there were some other cool local bands in town. And so that's kind of how we kicked into gear.
I love that. So then what about emo? How'd you find it? Where did it pop up first? How did it, because again, I think it's so interesting talking to different areas, because West Coast, like it is, the punk thing is so huge, but also you're in an interesting area where you got a college town, right? That you got SF, you've got a little bit of off the beaten path than the SoCal stuff. So talk about that a little bit, where you kind of been able to find it and where you sort of, because I saw you posting some stuff recently. I don't know who did on the socials, but you've been hoarding.
Oh man, yeah, no, I'm trying to kind of go big with that stuff right now, just because 30 somethings doing the reissues, and they're actually going to be doing the new album and some other reissues ultimately here. And so I'm just trying to, anyone that wants to put any time or any money into our stuff, like I want to do as good a job for them as possible.
Hell yeah.
To get it out there. And it seems like there's a renewed interest in like this specific kind of stuff. And then I post a couple things. I'm like, whoa, people really like this, tackle box with like old stickers. I'm like, well, guess what? I got way more than that. You know what I mean? I got a whole garage of bins, and, I got all my CDs more or less. I can't find some stuff. Like I had this, tape case that was like a double-sided, like little, bag that I used to take on tour and stuff way back in the, punk days, especially. And I can't find it, but I had so many cool old tapes in there. You know what I mean?
Damn.
And there's stuff I can't find, which I'm bummed, but you move a bunch, and some different catastrophes happen and stuff, and you don't have everything, but I've got plenty, trust me. So yeah, I'm posting as much as I can, and I've kind of got too much to post, and I'm not a huge social media guy, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a lot for me to do, but it's fun too. And it's cool to share some stories and some stuff people don't have, because you meet these younger kids and they're like, whoa, you have that on CD? And I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, I'm looking at my whole garage unpacked right now, so.
Totally. No, and I think that kind of goes back to, where did you start to see, either the word emo and then the sort of music associated with it, and what was your trail? Because I do want to get back to, and we'll do this, is what this sound is and why this is sort of a little resurgence. But I want to start with you finding it and sort of those almost like you jumped in a river. That's how I feel like. Once someone showed you something, you were off.
Yeah, exactly. So I wasn't like super aware of like emo bands, let's call them. But they kind of like, for me back then, like punk and alternative type bands, like they were all kind of grouped together, I mean, I was listening to Tool and Ned's Atomic Dustbin and Face to Face and all of those things all at once, so if anything to me was like kind of punk. It wasn't like the mainstream. That was like what I gravitated towards, and, early on I guess I was really into just kind of anything melodic, but that had kind of more going on. So I remember I was at like, what was it called? Miller's Outpost or something like that. And they had tapes behind wait, no, do they have tapes? No, there was like, it was in Santa Cruz at the mall here. And I was wearing my Green Day shirt because I was like really into Green Day, like before Dookie and all that stuff. Like I think my sophomore picture has me with like the Green Day shirt with the face on it.
Kerplunk?
And I was, what's that?
Was it the Kerplunk record, or was it?
It wasn't
1030. What was it? That's not that record.
Those were the albums I was really into. It was funny because I was really into the skateboarding scene.
Yeah.
And actually we would make like our little like own videos, like pretending we were a company. It's kind of like Band Later, where you pretend that you have it going on, like no one's going to sponsor you, but you're going to do it yourself, right?
I love it.
So we make like these, it was called Mother Mouse skateboards. And my friend was like really good with video and stuff early on. So, we would, there's a guy in town named Israel Forbes. He was a pro skateboarder for Santa Cruz Skateboards and stuff. And, with some of these these pros in town were our buddies, and then they'd kind of let us put them in our videos and stuff too. But we're like, Israel, what song do you want in your video part? And he's like, Green Day. And we're like, what the hell's that? Like Green Day? Like we're like, is it like a pop band? Like, is it a reggae band? Like, what is this, right? And the guys down there, like doing the videos and stuff at like NHS, which is the Santa Cruz Skateboards, they had, whatever, Santa Monica Airlines and Sibs and all kinds of stuff. But they had some cool stuff that they were much older than us. I mean, we're talking like, this was probably like 1989 or something like that. And, I know this is a long-winded story, but hey. So anyways, we were like Green Day, and then he didn't end up putting it in. But then I saw the Plan B video, and they had Disappearing Boy in there off the, the 39 Smooth album. And I was like, oh, this is great. This is killer. So I kind of got into that. And then, of course, wore my Green Day shirt and all that stuff. But I was at, like I said, Miller's Outpost. There was this chick in there with like, whatever, dyed blue hair or something like that. And, she looked pretty hip and everything. And I was wearing my Green Day shirt, and she's just like, oh yeah, I just saw them up in, at Gilman with Sam I Am. And I'm like, what's the Sam I Am thing? Right. So then I, of course, went down to the record store and I bought Soar.
Yeah, you did.
And so that was like one of those bands where I'm like, these guys are kind of too good. Their singing's like too good, and they're doing, all this clean stuff that, that I like to do, but you didn't really do so much in punk. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But they were a punk band, but they weren't, at the same time. So they were kind of doing a different thing. And that kind of led me to, Jawbreaker and, Knapsack and the kind of the bands swirling around that time a little bit more. So that's really, and some of those bands are kind of, they're considered emo. I think I even saw the latest Sam I Am record. You go to like whatever, Apple Music or something. It's like emo. You know what I mean? And that was not a thing. So, so those were my kind of earlier bands, and like Seaweed and bands like that, that were, I guess you'd call emo now.
Yeah.
But they weren't called that. You know what I mean? They were called, I don't know. I think we called them post-punk.
What did you feel like when the word got attached to certain bands and you started, looking into more, probably seeing more shows, obviously playing? Like, what was that like?
Well, the first time I actually heard it was, when we first started playing in Illiterate, we're like, we're of course thinking Derek's brother's going to hook us up with shows. He's like, dudes, you go down and you figure this out, right? So he's like,
no shit. He gave it to you quick.
Yeah, kind of. But, that's good. I mean, they hooked us up, don't get me wrong. But, it's like, your little brother that's whatever, 6 years younger than you, and you're dumb shit friends. You know what I mean? But he would come out and play in the band room. It was at his parents' house. He'd come out in there and play with us, like our songs a little bit and stuff, and give us some pointers and stuff. But anyways, there's this group of people here called the Santa Cruz Music Collective, and they were down on 2nd Street here in Santa Cruz, down by the boardwalk. And so we went in there, the group of us with our demo tape, right? And they're in there, and they were really like, kind of the scenester hip, little crowd, right? And we go in there, and they're just in this little living room, and we're in there with our tape and everything. And, they were listening to tapes that they got sent, in to see if they wanted to book them and stuff like that. So we were sitting there, and they were like putting on, they're like, oh, this is really emo. You know what I mean? Like on these bands they were listening to, where we were like, well, we don't really know what that is. And they put our tape on, and we were a little more of a pop punk type thing. And they were like, oh, you guys are good or whatever. And, all of our songs back then were about, girlfriends and like, that kind of stuff, right? Totally. So it was really kind of poppy, sappy type. And and we walked away from it saying like, hey, maybe we're emo. We were thinking it was like lyrical content. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the first time I can remember really hearing it.
I love that you got I love that visual. The room, they're playing tapes, and you know what? They listen to it, right? They listen to it, and I think they gave you time.
Yeah.
And I feel like you walking out of that room, they weren't dicks to you. They listened to it. And like that probably changed. Like, what if they were complete assholes and laughed as you walked out of the room? Maybe you guys would have turned into Green Day 2.0, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, that was super cool of them.
Yeah, it was cool. And, they're, at the time, they seemed like these older people that really knew what's up and stuff. And we're like, whatever. But they're just kids, too.
Yep.
And you realize that as you're older. They were just kids trying to figure it out as well. But they actually hooked us up with like kind of the first show we got like through an actual promoter. Well, they were kind of the promoter, but it was at this 7th Avenue Vets Hall. But they're like, well, we have this band called Two Line Filler coming through, and like maybe you guys and Good Riddance and stuff. So that was one of the first shows I guess we had, like legit show. Have you heard of Two Line Filler?
No, I don't know if they ever toured with Shuttlecock.
Oh, I mean, if they could fill 2 lines into the Shuttlecock, you know what I mean?
Hey-oh, hot mic. No, I never heard of them. Tell me about them. I'm sorry. That's my last Shuttlecock joke.
They were, hey, I'll take Shuttlecock all day long. They were from Canada. And, back then you didn't know what a band sounded like at all.
No.
Unless you went and bought their stuff. And then you had to find their stuff. And it wasn't like it was just stocked everywhere. So we actually asked Russ from Good Riddance, the singer of Good Riddance, because he pretty deep in just everything, and he had all everything. So we asked him, we're like, hey, what do they sound like? He's like, they're like the best band I've ever heard. Wow. And I'm like, what? We're like, wow, what? But they were actually more of kind of an emo band, really. They were like a Sam I Am type band, because there was a group of bands that were trying to do that Sam I Am kind of seaweed type thing.
Yep.
And so I actually, like, they dawned on me, I don't know, a year ago or something, and I actually looked them up, and they have their stuff on on the music services now. They didn't for a long time, but it's pretty cool. If you listen to it, you'll hear what I'm saying. And they were really cool, and they were kind of like, kind of had a little bit of a different thing going. It wasn't like a California punk thing. So yeah, so that's kind of, how they hooked us up. But yeah, it was all kind of there already.
What did you like about it?
It was that sweet spot between like grunge and punk almost, Yeah. And for me, I already liked stuff that I felt similar, like, Dinosaur Jr. and stuff, and even like the later Dag Nasty stuff and things like that. So I was already kind of, into that stuff. And so when I kind of saw more people doing that, but for me, it was just more dynamics and different kinds of chords and stuff and clean parts. And, the singing was more, usually, I don't know, I don't want to say more melodic, because there was plenty of, good melodic punk band singing, but it just had a little bit more of a raw feeling to it. And I felt like lyric content, because I'm a big lyric guy, it just felt a little more thoughtful. And there was just kind of a bit of a, I don't know, there was an energy to it that was different.
Yeah, I feel you. And then, was the next band Time Spent Driving?
No. So what happened while I was in illiterate is I got in this band called Fury 66, which is a local punk band that was, a really big band around here. And I was just a kid, barely knew how to play guitar really, but we're actually doing stuff again right now. So we just did a reunion show. We've done like 3 since I think 1999 or something like that. They were around. I got kicked out of the band, so they did stuff for years after me. But so I got in that band, and I kind of left, my original high school band to do that. And then in doing that, then I basically left my friends, that were playing in a band still. So, I kind of did that, and then they started a band called Reliance. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like, okay, they were doing that, and I liked what they were doing, but then I got kicked out, and I was left with no band. So I was like, oh, okay, what am I going to do? And it's funny, actually, is I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and Good Riddance was touring with Lifetime. And they were like one of my favorite bands. They were a great example of that kind of crossover thing too.
100%. Yeah.
Where they had like slower stuff and, just cool guitar stuff and like picked out stuff. And just, I was really just stoked. They were like my favorite band, I think, at the time. And they played at Gilman. And actually, Luke from Good Riddance introduced me to them, because they were actually touring with the Snapcase guitar player at the time, filling in. And he's like, dude, they need a guitar player. Like, you should try out. And I was like, holy shit, okay. Yeah, so he introduced me at Gilman to Dan, and I had a good conversation for him. And he's like, well, what, like Snapcase guy, like, we could tell right away he could play the stuff. Like, how do we, see what you do? And I'm like, I'll record like a tape of me playing with a drummer, like playing some of your songs or whatever. Right. And he's like, cool. Well, I mean, what, you're here and, we're out there. Like, what would you do? I'm like, I guess I'll move out there.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that would have changed a lot. But basically what happened is I recorded the tape and sent it off to them. But they, I called Dan when I knew their tour was done, and I was like, it was kind of late because it was the East Coast. I was like, hey, you awake? And he was sounding like super like, how should I say? He was sounding super like, sullen, if you will, something like that. And he's like, hey man, like, we're not playing. Like, I tried to save it, but I couldn't. And, he was just super bummed.
Oh,
and so
shit.
I'm like, okay, all right. And so I was like, okay, well, there's that. And then he was out here one time with Russ from Good Riddance, and I saw them. They were like downtown. He was like, Jon, hey, and it turns out he really liked it. So I don't know, I it could have been something. That would have been awesome.
That's such a cool story.
Yeah.
Like, and also too, that moment of you like sending that tape off and then waiting and being like, I guess I'll call him when the tour's over, and then the mail, and then he checks the mail, the P.O. box, like all that fucking, like, can you imagine the anxiety? Bro,
man, yeah.
UPS said they delivered it on your doorstep, and I have a ring camera footage, like all that shit.
I mean, did UPS exist back then? I don't know. I think
but it's like, but they didn't have fucking. They were like, it's showing up, and you better be fucking home, or you're gonna get that little fucking sticker.
Yeah, exactly. I think I went USPS. My dad was the postmaster here in Santa Cruz.
Oh,
so
you definitely went USPS.
Oh, I had to. Yeah, but definitely. Like, and I even told Dan at the show, I was like, you guys are like my favorite band right now. He's like, oh, thank you. Because they weren't. I mean, people that weren't kind of there at the time, they don't realize these bands weren't big.
No.
They weren't big. I mean, they had a good show at Gilman and stuff, but they were doing the same thing as a lot of us, playing shows with no one there sometimes. And, they were on kind of the crest of things. Yeah,
they're definitely one of those bands that I felt, why weren't they big? Like when because like seeing Jersey's Best Dancers, like seeing that record and going like, everyone's going to like this, right? Like this is going to be the biggest thing in the world, like 25 Cent Giraffe, like get out of here. But,
and Jade Tree, even at the time that they were on, like they wanted to be on Fat Records because Fat Records was doing all this stuff.
Right.
And like they were big. And so they're like, hey, I don't think they mind me saying this, but they were like, Jade Tree doesn't really do anything for us. Because Jade Tree, they had some bands on there, but they were like an early Jade Tree band.
Totally. Early.
And so, so they actually wanted to be on Fat Records, but Fat Mike, I guess, was just like, nah.
Is that your impression?
But you can kind of hear that.
Is that your impression of Fat Mike?
I mean, I could get, like whinier if you want, like, meh.
Cool, thank you.
But
sorry, I always appreciate impersonations, so
hey, I can do some impersonations here and there. Not really when I'm on the spot as much, but like if it just comes out, I'll do it. But you can kind of hear that in, what became Jersey's Best Dancers, that they really were kind of going for that faster punk stuff where they had on, Hello Bastards, they had, kind of some more, mellow stuff, I think, a little more.
Yeah.
So although some of the songs did go over to there, my favorite one is the New Brunswick Basement Show.
Hell yeah.
And that's the song that I love the most. And that's actually the one that I recorded and sent over to them. And I did some of my own songs too, just to be like, hey, this is kind of the stuff I play. It's kind of similar, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's so rad.
Anyways.
Do you have that tape anywhere?
Dude, actually, there's a possibility.
I mean,
I'm missing some of my tapes. I'm even missing like a little box of tapes that I know I have and I've seen somewhat recently, but it could be around.
Because I just think recording that song and then putting your stuff on there and like hearing the clicks right from the Tascam, right? Hearing the right, or like
it was probably a boombox.
Probably a boombox then, right? I was actually trying to give you credit, so
it might have been a Tascam.
I never had money for one of those too. My shit was always tape deck.
Dude, I did get one at some point. I know I got the Tascam and not the Fostex. I think the Fostex was a little cooler, but my Tascam was pretty good. I remember it was gray, it was pretty big.
I was so confused when a buddy made we recorded my high school demo of a band, and I remember it was on like a 4-track, right? And then so I came home and I think he gave me 2 tapes, one that was mixed, right? That was the one that could play in real time. And then I also had the master, which is slow as fuck.
Yeah, or backwards if you put it on the wrong side. My friends were in another band, and then I got kicked out of my band, the Lifetime thing or whatever else I was kind of looking at didn't work out. So I started playing some stuff with actually our original bass player, Todd, and some other guys. And, we were doing more of the kind of stuff we ended up doing. It had clean type parts and, more Lifetime, like Hot Water Music I really liked at the time too. Those bands that were in between. So I actually started doing that stuff. But then my buddies in Reliance, basically, they're like, okay, hey, you come back in here and everything. So I kind of got off track because that was more of a kind of, fast-paced melodic punk type thing. And so I kind of got off track, but then that fizzled out in like 1998. And so we're like, okay, here we are again. So Derek, the other guitar player, and I basically were like, okay, hey, let's do this, right? And so we started doing it, but it took, we didn't record or name band or record the TSD stuff until like the end of 1999. So it took like, we really started in like 98. And then, it took like a year to figure it out. We have a whole 6-song demo of like what we were doing more immediately. And it's very like, Lifetime Hot Water Music-y, more Texas Is the Reason, Sam I Am type stuff. So I have like a 6-song thing of that's just all music. And we were looking for a singer too. That's another thing that happened, is like we were trying to find a singer because we were just like, okay, they didn't really ever like my vocal. So, I'm not the best singer in the world. So I've come a long way, but, so we were trying to find a separate singer, and we were really into like Chamberlain and stuff. And they had, the separate singer guy, and the guitar players could do all kinds of cool stuff and you don't have to worry about it. So that was kind of the thing. But then it was like, okay, well, we can't really find someone. We had a couple guys, which is a whole story in itself. But, it ended up, okay, what are we doing? What does my voice adapt the most to? And so that's why we ended up kind of going in the direction we went on our first EP, which is, a lot of quieter stuff, but it's got the heavy stuff mixed in, a lot of picked out type stuff. So that's kind of the arc of things.
That's really cool. And so, that era is prime time. And what was your experience meeting like-minded bands?
It was such a like really heavy kind of punk hardcore scene in the Bay Area here and in Santa Cruz, there wasn't really anyone doing what we were doing. The closest thing would be like Yaphet Kotto, who is actually the drummer of Illiterate, and Reliance was actually the drummer for Yaphet Kotto. And my good friend Pat was in there, and some other guys that I still hang out with to this day. And so they were doing that, but it was more of a screamo hardcore type thing. But it has, the crossover with it. But we were more like wimp rock, you know what I mean? Like, comparatively speaking. So there wasn't really any bands locally. So I remember our first show, I basically was like, hey, we're going to do a show in Santa Cruz. Like, how do I get some other bands that sound like us? Or something similar. So I went on like AOL Instant Messenger, and, San Jose is like, whatever, half hour away here. And so I was like looking in San Jose for bands, and, I found this band called Ellis, and they seemed like pretty cool, and they kind of had some stuff going on that was kind of similar. And then I also found, what were they called? The Wonder Years is what they were called, like UNDER years. And they were from Santa Rosa. So I kind of like just found these different bands. And so I know those two bands were on the first show that I put on. And the Wonder Years guy, he actually ended up being in The Ghost.
Oh, wow.
I think they were on, what were they on? Victory or something.
Oh, right. The Ghost, not the Ghost everyone's thinking about. No, The Ghost was fucking great. That was like a Chicago band, right? Because that,
you know what?
Wait, hold on. Victory Records. Hold on. I'm the only one on Google right now that's searching for this. What?
He was buddies with
that wasn't Victory.
He was in Santa. It was some label that made it seem. I think they did move to Chicago. I'm not super sure, but he was buddy. He was in the Santa Rosa scene, which was like the Velveteen and Benton Falls and stuff like that. Yeah. So he's buddies with those guys. And so that was just kind of random. And then these Ellis guys, they ended up having to change their name to Keeping Ellis, but they actually got on Drive-Thru Records back then. And it was like, really early on type stuff. And, they actually were set to do something on Drive Thru. And then that kind of fell through, I think, and they broke up. But it's all kind of connected. It was a really weird time because there was those bands out there that were in that kind of scene that were doing really good, but it was this closed off thing. You know what I mean? Like, if you were a little late, if we were like a year later when we should have been, or a year earlier when we should have been, I think it would have been a different story. But it was hard to get into it. You know what I mean? And on those bands. So we kind of created our own scene, but there was bands around in the general Bay Area, like, Knapsack and, Crumb. Do you remember Crumb?
I do.
Yeah. If anyone's not checked them out, they're really cool. They almost had two produced of a record. They were on a major label, and Robbie, the singer, who's a friend, and we keep in touch at this point, but he has a newer band. I guess they're not new now, but they're called Taxes. That's really good too. If you haven't heard them, you should check them out. But so they, that was a kind of a big one early on where I'm like, okay, these guys are doing it. They're doing it really good. Like, hey, so there's that. And then there was Far, before they broke up, and they broke up really kind of early. So there was those bands. But there wasn't a lot, there was kind of an underground of the bands that were kind of, on our like peer level, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. No, and I think that is really cool that there's all the, like, you could start to see the connections. You could start to tell like, okay, this connected to this. And as you were talking, I was like, I just moved all my CDs, and I remember seeing the Ghost CD.
Dude, it was
that was a great record.
Yeah. I need to check it out, actually. I think I heard it a little bit. Again, you had to buy the CDs back then. You know what I mean? You weren't just checking them out really quick.
No, you fucking that's why I tell people,
and you didn't have money.
No.
You didn't have a bunch of money. You know what I mean? You like save up to get some CDs, right? You get, one at a time. So,
and also, like the last track. I love joking about that with people. I'm like, why the fuck do I know this song? And I'm like, oh, it's track 11 on some CD because I bought it stupidly and I just had to listen to it because, well, you fucking paid $15 for it, right? Like you like almost guilted yourself into like, like forcing it down.
The jump from like, $8.95 on a cassette to like $15.95 on a CD or whatever it was,
was jump.
Pretty major.
Yeah,
it was pretty major.
Yeah. I had to sling a lot of pizzas to get those.
Oh my God, dude. I made a lot. I worked at Wendy's for 3 years, dude. That's how I afforded my CD collection.
Oh, dude, Dave Thomas hooking you up.
Dude, I mean, they got some pretty good stuff in there, man. When you kind of consider,
dude, you know what I missed? You know what I missed in the 90s? I was just telling my best friend about this from college. Wendy's, you guys, I'm going to say you guys because you work there. You're part of the corporation.
Oh,
you were on the payroll.
I rolled that place, bro. On that drive-thru, I killed it. All kinds of different accents and stuff. I had fun.
The Peter Raps.
Oh.
The Peter Raps. That was 90s, man, because I got them in college. And it was the only vegetarian thing. So you could get a pita wrap with like a bunch of stuff, fries, and then a Frosty. And so I could survive without having to do like a McDonald's but anyway, it's gone, but I still remember like the sauce. Like like you could wake me up from a coma if you found that sauce.
Dude, yeah, that might have been a little bit more after my time. I think I worked there when I was like or maybe a junior in high school, whatever.
This is pre Peter Rap.
Yeah, no, but I was vegetarian at the time, right? Because vegetarian stuff was a big thing. So I had this whole system in there where like they have chili, right? But they put the meat in at the last minute. So I would get like the chili out of the thing. Yeah, I get the chili out of the thing and have my own separate little thing. And they had this really good chili sauce and stuff. Yeah, no, I ruled that place, dude.
A little cheese, a little shredded cheese on top.
Oh, a little onion. Yeah. Yeah. Cheese, onion. Like, I mean, anything I could like rummage from the whole like burger assembly area that didn't touch meat. You know what I mean? Like they put the freaking, like they put the mustard on the meat directly. So the mustard had like basically meat in it from the little spatula they use. So I like stayed clear of the mustard. I had to go to the packets if I wanted mustard. You know what I mean?
If you just want to talk about Wendy's for the rest of the thing, we can totally do that. I'm fine with that.
I'm sure there's a lot of people interested. In fact, actually, why don't you fast forward that whole part?
No, I'm not. I love getting nerdy about that stuff. No, I think you're right. You know, Dave, Thomas, you're all there. You're making money. You're figuring out these records. What about like now, like this reissue? I'd love for you to talk about it. I think there is a resurgence. I know everyone's talking about anniversaries. I know 20 years, 25, let's go on a cruise. Like, I get it. But I think what's beautiful about this is that this stuff, a lot of this music did not transfer because the streaming did not have these records, or, you know, Jade Tree got bought by Epitaph, right? Like stuff got lost for a minute. And I'm not saying you guys got lost, but it's just great to have these moments and to see who pops up from when you announce it.
Not only did we get lost, we were always lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were never a big bag. In fact, you know, Just Enough Bright, we put that out in May of 2002, and we broke up in March of 2003. You know, like, you know, we did all of our touring and most of our touring. We went to Europe. We did a bunch of stuff, full US tour on that EP. So we kind of blew our load, so to speak, like before we actually got to the spot where I feel like we were hitting a stride a little bit. And then, you know, but you know, back then, dude, it is brutal, man. It is brutal, you know, like how much work it takes to just even do cruddy shows. And then you get in the van and then your AC breaks down, you crash it, you freaking, you know, get stranded, you know, everyone's like has different ideas about how much it sucks or not, you know what I mean? So we really, you know, we really didn't have a ton of time there. You know, after that record, which it seems like, you know, resonated with a lot of folks that did hear it, but a lot of people didn't hear it. So it's kind of exciting to kind of get it out there in a fresh way. But, you know, I kind of just really I've been doing more music than I've done in forever in the last 5 years, even though we haven't played a show in 10 years. But you know, we put out a couple albums, but I already was like, okay, I'm gonna reissue this if I can. I'm gonna, you know, reissue that. I'm gonna add some songs. So I even recorded a new song from that era like 2 years ago to put on this. So it's been kind of a process, but I'm kind of, you know, stoked. I think it's better timing now to come out now, because it seems like there's a lift in things, and we're stoked to be working with 30 something records to do it. And you know, it's you know, Jay Robbins, who did the record originally, you know, remixed the whole thing and then mixed the new song, and so it's got this nice new sheen on everything, and it's cool.
Yeah, and then having Dan from Joshua helping out at Sunroom.
You know what? Yeah, I didn't even realize that's who it was, but I posted a flyer of us playing with them here in Santa Cruz, and then he saw it, and then he emailed me. I actually didn't get back to him yet last week, and he's like, "Hey, dude, hey, you know, I used to play in the band Joshua and stuff. That's really cool, whatever." So he didn't know, and I didn't know. I mean, why would he remember us? Although I saw him make a comment on something else that, you know, someone said, "Hey, I saw you in Santa Cruz with us or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, that was our best show of the tour," which tells you something. They went on a full U.S. tour, and we were in this little, you know, yoga hall. You know what I mean? And it was like, you know who it was with? The Big Collapse. Do you remember them?
So we can sidebar. Absolutely. I was the biggest Shift fan.
Dude, I loved them too, dude.
And the reason I got in touch with Equal Vision and how I ended up working there is because I made a website for Shift because they didn't have one in college.
I've made, you know, I do websites and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, I made the Jealous Sound site when they started getting back together. I made the Rise Records site. It's on the second iteration now. I did the Liars Academy site back then.
Hell yeah.
Do you remember that? You know, it was for Demons. Remember were you at Equal Vision at the time?
I wasn't, but I was basically like I worked for them, but didn't get paid until they actually hired me. So I was doing Street Team, I was doing digital stuff just as like a friend. But yes, I remember that Demons record, the artwork. for sure.
Yeah, so the website I did, and I remember talking to Ryan on the phone what he wanted and stuff. I think I got paid $600 to do it. It had like a lot of flash, but it was really cool actually. All those little demon shadows I had like moving across and everything. But yeah, I've kind of done a lot in the music realm early on with the website stuff, because that was like kind of the timing, 2003 is when I started doing that. So at first I was like, yeah, I get to work with all these bands and do CD layouts and all that. And then all of a sudden you realize like they don't spend any money on this, and they've always got a buddy that's going to do it for free or cheap or whatever, right? So, but it was a cool little site. I was thinking about, I did Jay Robbins' site that time. I just said, hey, I'm trying to build my portfolio. Like, can I do it? He's like, yeah, sure. So anyway, so I was thinking about maybe digging those up and trying to post some screenshots. Like, that's the kind of stuff I'm doing, like nostalgic type stuff. Again, it's not my thing, but like,
here's the thing
cool stuff. It's cool stuff for people that, don't know about stuff and the connections and the whole world,
I want to explain two things. One, it is true. And also, I think the mundane is sometimes the most interesting. And what I mean by that is that you could, like, if you could take a photo of your bedroom from growing up, right? Like, you could zoom in on all the posters or zoom in on your bookshelf or whatever. Like, that's cool. And like, I think like flyers are cool because they're this like moment, but also too, like a website, like something like that is gone, Wayback Machine, sometimes it's there. Like, obviously the flash is gone, but I'll tell you how old my Shift one was. It was on GeoCities.
Yeah.
So it was man. Like, I didn't even know how to get shift.net, right? Like, but
isn't Washed Up Emo still on GeoCities? No, I'm just
you know what, honestly?
It was for a long time, wasn't it?
Blogspot.
That's right. I remember when I first saw it. Yeah.
2007. I was like, fuck everything. I was at Equal Vision. I was pissed off, and I was like, fuck it. And then I made the website.
Yeah. Well, that was the easy way to do it. Especially when it's kind of a blog type thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff is so angry. When I look back, I'm glad a lot of it's gone. But some of it was just I was so angry. And I guess that was my outlet. But yeah, I think. But I think those mundane things that you're talking about, and I think nostalgia is a word that's thrown around a lot. I believe for things that weren't so heavily documented.
Yeah.
Seeing things that aren't available or easily accessible or a moment in time, or like a crowd shot, right? There's always a band photo, but like a crowd shot is like, you could look at it and go, oh my God, I know the year just based on this photo. And I think those are really cool. Those are really cool to look through.
Also, what you gotta, I think we remember, but there was no iPhones or anything. You weren't just taking photos all the time.
No, and it was like you only had a certain number of shots, and I could only afford the fucking the box ones that you like gave to the
dude.
Like, what is it? I don't even know what they're called. I forget what they're called. The ones where you just had like
little disposable ones.
Yeah, the disposable camera. That's all I had.
No, and we had to develop the photos and everything. Like I've actually dug up. I have more than I thought of some I didn't remember. So I do have pictures of like a couple people in the crowd. Like there's this one at this house show in like Gainesville. And I'm like, okay, it's got the crowd there. I wonder if anyone out there, like if I posted this, would be like, hey, that's my house, Like there I am, It's always cool when that kind of stuff happens. So there's so little of it. There's just so little of it that's why it is cool. As opposed to the bigger stuff where everyone was taking photos, not to the degree of today, of course, but, so yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. And so what was it about you saving that shit? Was it, I have room, or I just really like it, or because I'm the same way. I have stuff and people are like, I don't know how that you've saved this very catalog for 20 years. And I was like, I don't know. It's fucking cool. Like I
got like an initial catalog. Remember the initial catalogs?
Oh yeah, no, I just moved to that box of zines, so that's how I know. Yeah, absolutely. But it's like,
dude,
why did you save it? Why did you save it?
Yeah,
why'd you save this shit?
I didn't save everything, but you know what? It's just I love it. And I guess I'm kind of a pack rat, but I don't have like everything in its mother. But I have, quite a few non-musical related things too, and just bins in the garage and stuff. I guess I just, I mean, you're talking to a guy with his parents have a garage stuffed of 45s from, 1950 or whatever it was. So, so I guess I was just kind of influenced by that. Like, hey, keep it around. Maybe you'll be stoked on it someday. And we're even finding gems over there, of different things that now my kids are into,
Yeah.
But I just, and I don't like to get rid of things. And, the CD thing's weird though, because you just felt like these things are worthless now. Like, why would you listen to a CD when you can get it so easy? But I have all my stuff. I wish I had more of it. But, you used to sell a lot of stuff too. To get another CD, you would sell one that you don't like as much. So I had lots of cool stuff. I had like old Nirvana bootlegs and stuff where I'm like, oh man, what did I do? I just always kept it because, it's cool. And like, as far as my band stuff, it's just close to my heart. I put a lot into it and I'm passionate about it. But our guitar player, Derek, he was always like, why do you keep all this shit? And I'm like, well, now I'm showing you.
Yeah. And I think it is. I think you said things like your parents did or you, but like it was important to you. And I think keeping those things get lost. Things, there's the whole thing about like certain, I forget, I'm going to ruin whatever the stat is, but like the amount of movies that were lost, there's only like, forget what era, but there's only like 5% that have survived because of how the film. So it's like, I think you were in that transition period between
they lost the moon landing, for God's sake.
Right. Yeah. And, and also Universal had the fire, right, at their archives that lost a lot of stuff. Like there's just, I think there's a moment. And I think it is cool. And I think people are searching. Yes, you can get anything you want today, but I want the story. I want the thing that isn't just the song. Like you said, show me the flyer, show me the crowd, show me the sticker from the promo, because it tells a larger story. It tells a little bit more that gets lost. And I will criticize. I think it gets lost in a lot of books and a lot of articles when you just talk about it, but you weren't there.
Right.
And I think you being there, you having all that stuff, it's different than someone finding this box that you sold. Maybe you pretend you sold the time spent driving stuff in a box and it just happened to have everything in there and someone used that. It's different. The story is different. So your personal connection to it, the people connected to it, tell that story.
Dude, our label Sessions Records, when they closed, they sold the company, the Sessions Snowboarding, Skateboarding. I forget who they sold it to, but they sold it. So they closed up their whole warehouse, and I worked there and stuff. But the band was broken up and stuff, and they actually donated all of the CDs that were left to this thing called Gray Bears out here. It's like a recycling type, I don't know, donation center. So they took boxes of Just Enough Bright, I'm sure, and just gave them over there. I'm like, wait, you should have given me. Now I have like 6 of them, and I see people like, I would kill for that CD and stuff. I'm like, geez, I would have probably kept them. But they just gave, they're probably in the dumpster out there at the time. But that's an interesting story actually with the Just Enough Bright stuff is. I was actually, because I wrote a whole new record, like in a matter of months, and I was just super pumped on it. So I actually hit up Jay Robbins. I texted him and I was like, hey dude, what would it take to, come out there and do it with you, that kind of thing or whatever. And I was asking him about a few other things. And he's like, hey, by the way, that record we did together, I actually have the tapes when Inner Ear closed. I grabbed them. Because I have everything, but I didn't have those reels because we did it all on 2-inch. And that's the one thing I didn't have. I had like the masters that were bounced down to like the 1-inch or whatever, but I didn't have those. And I'm like, holy shit. I was like, I can't believe you're saying that and have them. Because then that gave me the opportunity to get all those files and think about remixing it where they would have been gone. But he happened to have them. So
wow.
That's kind of the cool thing. And, and now I've got all the files on my computer with everything else I've ever done. And it's, that was kind of a cool coincidence. So I'm really stoked that I was hitting him up with one of my late night ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is cool. So this is coming out in April. And what else is going on for you? What else are you working on?
Well, so I have a whole new record in the bag. It's been done for 2 years. And I strongly believe it's the best stuff we've ever done by quite a long shot. I just feel like it's really, it was really cohesive because it was written all at the same time and recorded. It took longer to record and get down as usual than I thought. But it's getting a little old for me at this point, but I'm really excited about that. So kind of the idea is do this and then do that. I'm doing that. I've also got another side project I'm doing called Rare Beasts. And I'm doing it with some of the guys from, do you remember that band Fighting Jacks?
No.
They were a local kind of the San Jose band over here. They actually put their stuff out on Tooth and Nail Records. And I reconnected with, Casey, the other singer guitar player, because we were at the skate park and our kids are skateboarding and, my wife gets talking to his wife. And then next thing we're kind of like, wait, they know each other. My husband knows your husband and So next thing I'm hanging out with him and, kind of, catching up and stuff. And then one day I was like, dude, all this band stuff takes too long. Like I move faster. I need to get like another band together so I can just crank, right? So I've got like a whole record written for that, but that's been like 2 years and it's not, we haven't even gotten the first 5 songs down to demo them properly. So, but I've got that going on. But my focus is kind of back over on this stuff right now. And then I've got this band Fury 66, which again, I was in, I think when I was 17 to 19 years old. And we're doing another show coming up here. And so we're doing a couple shows in a matter of 6 months. And we talked about doing other stuff and there's going to be shows there. So like I said, I'm kind of doing more music than I've ever done.
Fuck that rules.
Yeah, so I'm pretty stoked. I guess I'm making up for lost time. I got a couple kids and that whole thing and just business and stress and life. And I just went through some dark times where I wasn't as motivated. And then I kind of came out of it, like 5 years ago. And I'm like, dude, I've got the energy. I've got the motivation. I love this. Like, I'm just going to do as much as I can before I'm too embarrassing. Too old and embarrassing. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm trying, man. I don't know, man. It's probably too much, but why not? You only go around once, or maybe multiple times, but you're only in this time once, right? So,
hell yeah.
I'm just doing what I can, and like I said, I love it. I'm addicted to it, really. I just love creating stuff, and I don't know, it's just fun for me. It's an outlet for me.
I'm so glad that it is, and I think that's what the beauty of it is that this connected with you so deeply that this wasn't just a little thing, and it's manifested its way and continued to find its way through your ups and downs to give you joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited for more people that weren't aware of it. Because again, a lot of people weren't aware of it, at the time, and they might have liked it.
Yeah.
So it's cool to get a lot of new ears, and it seems like we really are. More than ever before. So, that's really cool. I mean, there's so many bands out there right now that just are doing stuff again or getting their stuff. Like I'm seeing all this Jejune stuff and Garden Variety and like Ethel Mazur and, all these things. I'm like, whoa, So it's working its way through. So here we are.
I love it.
Whether it's music or not music, just, long form podcasts and stuff. I love that stuff. And I love like the, behind the band stuff and everything. I wish there was more of that, like more niche down, even like songwriting process or like what happened in the studio. Like it's hard though you get to that stuff, you know what I mean? But
it's
I guess that's why you do multiple,
Yeah, or certain people just don't remember. Like that's what's been interesting to find out with who remembers it, who doesn't, what their comfort zone is, how to get them out of that comfort zone. As I've done so many of these, like it's really interesting to find where someone wants to go and then where I think they haven't thought about to go.
Right.
So that's probably the really fun part.
Well, you're talking to like the long-term memory master right now.
Okay.
I mean, dude, I remember like what shoes people were wearing in 7th grade and stuff.
Oh, that's ridiculous. One of my buddies, Greg, I call him the Steel Trap. Because just anything I tell him, like 20 years later, he'll be like, "Hey, remember when you pooped your pants?" You know, I'm like, "How the fuck do you remember that?" Or like even something like more random, like just remember when you didn't put the window down and the bug flew in your eye? I'm like, dude, where's that in your memory?
Oh, dude, I hang on to that stuff. I'm the king of bringing shitty stuff back up to people. And damn it, why do you remember that? Shit, I hope people forgot about that. That's why I'm careful about what I do, because I'm like, I don't want these assholes to remember this stuff, you know? But, you know, it's fun. Yeah, you know, I'm not like a big me person, but I do have so many. I think I've been in the whole scene for so long, you know, since 93. You know what I mean? And there's so much that's happened with so many connections. Like we were never really anything. But I mean, I know a lot of people and interact with a lot of people and have just crazy, you know, letters from them, from Book Your Own Fucking Life, emailing every single, you know, or whatever, sending our demo to every single band. You know what I mean? So I've got some kind of crazy stuff. I really appreciate you doing this, dude. I'm fucking stoked to be a part of just all this shit. You know, it's fun and I appreciate it. So yeah, you know, if you're ever in the area or vice versa, I'll hit you up again. And yeah, dude, rad, dude. Thanks again for your time and all that shit. And glad you like the Wendy's part. And yeah, we'll talk later.
Sounds good, John. Thanks so much, man.
All right, my man.
Peace.
Okay, peace.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.